Hello Nintendo, we here. Welcome to episode 5 of Retro Gamer Week. This week we'll be taking a look at the Game Boy versions of one of my all-time favourite arcade games, that is, Bobble. So you play as this little green dinosaur dude here. His name's Bub, or maybe Bob, who knows, one of the two. And you go through the levels. Each stage is sort of a mini puzzle in itself. You have to kill all the enemies in the screen before you move on to the next one. After every few stages there's a boss fight and then you go on to the next world, and it just carries on like that. I've never actually finished it. There's hundreds of levels. In the levels you can also collect little letter circles that spell out the word extend, and they give you an extra life if you pick them all up. You'll definitely get the music stuck in your head for days, maybe even weeks. It's so catchy, especially in the first game. It's fast-paced, it's fun, it's challenging, it's easy to pick up and play. You can play it for 5 minutes, you can play it for an hour. The gameplay mechanics are really interesting. The way you fire the bubbles, they follow a certain course around the level, and you can actually use that to your advantage, like jumping on the bubbles. If you hold down the jump button, then you can get up to a higher platform. There's loads of power-ups, cool weapons. Each level is kind of like a mini puzzle in itself. Here's one of the many power-ups in the game. If you pop that and make water. So you have to kind of figure out how to kill all the enemies, how to collect all the bonuses once the level's finished, because you only have a certain amount of time to pick up all the items before you move on to the next level. The original arcade release was actually multiplayer, but unfortunately the Game Boy version's only single player as far as I know anyway. One great feature about the Super Game Boy, even though this isn't the Game Boy Color version, you can actually change the colours to whatever you think would fit the game best. And there's plenty of options. So let's see what this one's like. Very bright. The Super Game Boy also lets you select certain backgrounds to use. This is a Super Game Boy 2, so it has a different selection to the first one. It was just plain black. That one looks pretty cool and matches the game. I like to have the controls on this version. It's also just a very fun, cute platforming, puzzle, arcade, action, whatever else you want to call it, kind of game. Everything you could hope for from an arcade game, really. It was re-released on pretty much every system at the time in the 80s and 90s. The best version, apparently, is the Sega Master System version. I don't have that one. It was actually made by Sega instead of Taito, and apparently they did a better job than Taito did, so who knows. And it's got over 200 levels apparently. For me, my favourite version has always been the original Game Boy version, specifically Bobble Part 2. It's what I grew up with. I used to play it constantly. Really, really fun game. Definitely recommend it if you have a Game Boy. There was also a Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance version out there if you'd rather play the colour version instead of the black and white one. Better stop playing now because I could just carry on all day. I love this game so much. Before we do finish the video though, I've got one other game that I'd like to show you. This is Parasol Stars, made by Taito. This is kind of a sequel to the Bubble series, so let's take a quick look. So this is Parasol Stars, the story of Bubble 3. Actually released before Bubble 2 for the Game Boy for some weird reason. Anyway, it plays very much like Bubble, except instead of throwing bubbles, you have a parasol, and you can use that to pick the enemies up and throw them. You still have to go around collecting all the bonuses they drop, killing all the enemies to move on to the next stage. The sort of thing you'd expect. It's not quite as polished as Bubble, it feels a little bit more clunky. And it was actually made by Ocean, or published by Ocean, and not Taito. But even so, it's still a very fun game. Definitely worth picking up if you have a Game Boy. and looking for a puzzle game. So, I can't recommend this game enough. Bobble is fantastic. If you like platformers or arcade games, it's definitely worth playing. And it's available on pretty much everything, so you've got no excuse not to play it. So, thanks for watching. See you in episode 6.